and it reminded me something that was on the news recently. Teachers made the news. It seems that someone thinks that teaching is the most important job in the world. That was said. It was very hard to miss on social media. Director Ridley Scott went to BAFTA, and he said exactly that teaching is the most important job in the world. And I was looking at this room, and I was thinking, who said that teachers don't get a red carpet?
Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah, but it is what he said before that I found most interesting. He said that a good teacher engages rather than tolerates a student. And it got me thinking that teaching is not easy. Teaching, to be a good teacher like that, to engage your students, you have to really want it. And it takes a lot of effort to be able to motivate your students, and amidst many distractions nowadays. Well, we've always had distractions, but people always come to the teachers and say, you know, my son always is on the internet, watching YouTube videos. But teachers have this unique ability to turn those distractions into our advantage. And to do that, you have to be very creative. Take YouTube, for example, films, comics, the internet. All those things, we've turned them into a tool to motivate students and to engage them. This convention celebrates creativity, and I have no doubt that this small but distinguished group of teachers right now in the room are exactly this kind of teachers. In Greek, we have a couple of words that describe this kind of teacher very accurately. We say that the teacher has philotimo. It means friend of honor, do the right thing without any personal gains, to sacrifice yourself. But even beyond that, teachers like that have meraki, to immerse yourself completely in your work, selflessly again. So this conference about creativity has some distinguished guests. Today we have Nicky Hockly and Luke Prodromou. And tomorrow John Gangshin and Kieran Donaghy. We have 82 speakers from 14 countries. And last but not least, 10 students from the Department of Language and Linguistics and Literature from the University of Athens, who will be giving presentations later on today. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the support of our host, Degree College. The Degree representative, Susan Stenson Tilgadas, will say a few things in a bit. Our gold sponsors, oh, don't go away, come back. I only have another 15 seconds and then it's you. Our gold sponsors, Darlington Books and Europalso, as well as Deportivo Publishing, Express Publishing, National Geographic Learning, New York College, the sponsor of our plenary speakers, as well as all of the exhibitors. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 39th Tesol Greece Annual International Convention. Thank you. Susan, if you would like to say a few words. And then Katerina Mandadaki, who will introduce Nicky Hockly. Okay?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, George and Tesol Greece board members. My name is Susan Stetson-Tiligatis, and I'm the Director of Language and Culture Programs here at DERI. And on behalf of Dean Areti Krepapa of the School of Graduate and Professional Education, the MA in Tesol program, and the MSU English Language Testing Center, I'd like to welcome you all to DERI, the American College of Greece. We are delighted to host the 39th Annual Tesol Greece International Convention. And we would especially like to wholeheartedly thank the Tesol Greece Board for the amazing organization and tremendous amount of work they and the volunteers put into bringing this convention to fruition. We are looking forward to continued collaboration with Tesol Greece and to hosting the convention here again in the future. I hope you enjoy the weekend and are filled with creativity and inspiration from the fantastic lineup of plenary speakers and presenters. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to introduce to you Nicky Hockly. I don't think we need to say a lot about Nicky. I believe everybody knows about Nicky. But just to let you know that Nicky Hockly is a Director of Pedagogy in the Consultants E and has been teaching since 1987. She's the author of several prize-winning methodology books about technology in ELD and is a leading figure in edutech teacher training. Nicky lives in Barcelona and is a technophobe turned into a technophile. Congratulations, Nicky. Let's enjoy her.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Tesol Greece, of course, for inviting me to this lovely conference, and especially to Express Publishing for sponsoring me. Without Express, I wouldn't actually be here. And I'm particularly delighted to be here because my last time in Athens was about 1982. 82. I know I only look 25, but I was here in 1982. I was actually backpacking around the islands, can you imagine? So I've seen quite a change in Athens since 1982. It's lovely to be back here. I've been in Greece since. I've been in several parts of Greece, but this is my first time back in Athens, and it's a real pleasure to be here. I'd like to also thank you especially for getting up early on a Saturday morning and coming along to this plenary. I know that this is your day off, so much appreciated. Is there a slight echo? Can you hear a slight echo? I think it might be coming from this. George, would you mind seeing if you could switch off this microphone? I think the echo is coming from here. It's picking up my voice. Yeah, I think it's this one. Meanwhile, I'll carry on. Okay, the title of my talk, Remixing Creativity, is combining two things that I think are particularly important in English language teaching. On the one hand, creativity, one of the key 21st century skills, and on the other hand, digital literacies, which are a whole host of kind of sub-skills and competences and skills that we need. They include kind of technological skills or technical skills, but also using technology or digital technologies in sort of socially appropriate contexts. And I'd like to look at one specific digital literacy, which is called Remix, more of which in a second. But I need to confess that I am an English language teacher and teacher trainer. I come from the classroom. I spent many years working with students, so I can't resist a little bit of pair work in my plenary. Those of you who are sitting alone, I will ask you to perhaps move closer to somebody or be able to speak to somebody nearby. But I've set little puzzles for you during the talk. I've inserted 3 quotes which are connected to creativity, and they've been said by famous people. Of course, an English language teacher, I can't just give you the information. I've given you the quotes with all the words mixed up in a different order. So your job with the person next to you is to look at the quote, figure out what the correct order of the words is, and perhaps you know who said it. If you don't, it's not a problem. Okay? So we're going to start with the first quote. This quote has 2 sentences, which are separated. The first word is always the one that has a capital letter and is underlined. So the first sentence begins with you, the second sentence begins with the. This is the same quote. All goes together. Off you go. I'll give you a minute. Feel free to write it down because I'm going to give you the answers at the end. Okay? So you can either keep it in your head or you can write it down, whichever's easiest for you. Okay. If you think you've got the quote, if you figured it out, could you hold up your hand just to give me an idea? Okay, most of you, great. Don't worry, if you can't quite get it, I'll be giving you the answers at the end. Okay, let's move on. I'm sure you all recognize this lady, very famous. I have to tell you that I am actually not from the UK. I was born in South Africa. I have a slight South African accent. We have at least one South African in the audience. Do we have any more? No? There is quite a big Greek community in South Africa, in fact. But obviously they're in South Africa, they're not here. I guess. So the Queen, I mean, she's not my monarch, although I did spend some years in the UK. But we all know the Queen, and some of us love the Queen. All right, there she is. See if you recognize this. Yeah, not quite as interesting as the music we had last night, I have to say. So obviously the national anthem, right? God Save the Queen. We don't have to listen to the whole thing. You're probably at this point thinking, huh? What kind of talk is this? You'll see in a second. These gentlemen, do you recognize them? Yes,
Sex Pistols.
Yeah, a couple of you recognize them. The Sex Pistols, a punk rock group from the 70s. The lead singer being called Johnny Rotten. Yes, came to a sticky end. There he is. Okay, the reason I'm bringing up the Sex Pistols is because in 1977, which was the year of the Queen's Silver Jubilee, so she'd been on the throne for 25 years, I think, the Sex Pistols released an album, this album, called God Save the Queen. And this is the album cover, all right? So you can see it's a real picture of the Queen, and then they've kind of put the name of it on top. They also produced a song called God Save the Queen, but it's a rather different version to what you just heard. Let's see if we can listen to it. That's probably enough of that as well, right? You're probably wondering which you like less at this point. Okay, so this song, when it came out, you can imagine what the reaction of many people were. An iconic figure like the Queen and the national anthem, which is kind of sacred in a way, is taken and it's deliberately turned into something else by a punk rock group, and this is the result. Some people loved it, some people hated it, some people were deeply offended. This kind of thing is a very good example of remix, when an original idea or icon or figure is taken, often a classical kind of respected icon, and it is subverted or turned into something else. And in this case, there's a kind of a political message almost to this. If you listen to the words of the song, they can be quite offensive. I think there are even some swear words in the song, not in the part that you heard. But many people found this extremely offensive. And this is what is interesting about remix. This is a great example of remix. The term remix comes originally from music, in fact. Remix can be quite critical, edgy, political. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. And this is an interesting idea for us as teachers, I think, to hold on to. And I'm going to come back to that in a bit. With the person next to you, I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about these things. You've seen an example of remix. See if you can come up with just a short definition. What do you think creativity is? Do you think remix is creative? So what the Sex Pistols did, was that creative or maybe not? And then the final question, reflecting on this as English language teachers. So just a minute with the person next to you. Discuss. If you're sitting on your own, in the back of your own, you might want to just move a little bit together. The gentleman there in the white jacket.
Give another person.
Okay, I'll stop you there.
Yes, of course.
Because we're in a plenary situation, I'm not going to ask you for your answers, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think remix we've seen an example of, right? We take something original and then we change elements of it to create something new. So there's the key, you're creating something new. Creativity. There are many definitions, but this is one way of looking at creativity. There's a wonderful free book which is available in PDF format online. It's published by the British Council. It's called Creativity in the English Language Classroom, and the editors are Alan Malley and Nick Peachy. If you just search online for this, British Council and the title, you can download it. It's a lovely book with chapters from teachers all over the world talking about how they help their English language learners develop creativity. Lots of great ideas in there. Also for low resource contexts, not necessarily high resource. But taking Alan Malley's introduction to this book, this is a kind of summary of some of the elements that he discusses as a part of creativity or integral to creativity. So the first one is that it's universal. It doesn't matter what age you are, if you're a child or an adult or a teenager, everybody can be creative. Not just age, but also context. It doesn't matter where you live, what your context is. We all have creativity within us. This idea here that creativity is disciplined and it is it values the idea of constraints. So sometimes we think that, we have the picture of Albert Einstein with the hair, and we think that's creativity, that it's all kind of wow and out there. But actually, creativity thrives on clear boundaries and constraints. And this is especially true with remix, as you'll see. It's suited to high and low resource contexts. In other words, you don't need fancy technology to be creative. You can be creative with a stick in the sand. It's deliberately fostered by teachers. So teachers need to have a creative environment in classes and be creative themselves. It's not going to come out of anywhere. Tasks and so on can be designed with creativity in mind. It's not based on rules and accuracy. Actually, that sounds like a kind of contradiction, but the idea here is that the product, the thing that is produced through creativity, doesn't necessarily have to be totally accurate and correct. If you're going to be correcting your students' grammar the first time they try and produce something a little bit more interesting, then they're not going to want to do it again. So we need to have a little bit of leeway there. It's plural. The idea of plurality here is that there's no one right answer. There are many manifestations of creativity. So if I ask my students to draw a picture, I don't expect them all to draw the same one, right? It's plural, multifaceted, and multimodal. So it can use music, movement, art, whatever it might be. It doesn't necessarily have to be written all the time. I think that's quite a useful way of looking at creativity because it looks at it from all sorts of different angles. And it's one that I would like to come back to in a while. Meanwhile, here's another quote to keep you awake. I know this is a Saturday morning and an early start. With the person next to you, a reminder that the first word is underlined. This is a slightly different definition of creativity. I'll tell you who said it at the end. If you think you have this quote, could you put up your hand? You think you figured it out? Okay, pretty much everybody. Great. Again, I'll give you the answers at the end. I love that. That's the kind of antithesis to the definitions that I've just given you. Okay, so we've looked at an example of audio remix. So obviously, music and audio can be remixed. What else can be remixed? Images and video. And this is what I would like to show you examples of now, but with applications to language teaching. Okay. And text, absolutely. Yes, thank you. Just because we've been talking about the classics, we were talking about the UK national anthem and the Queen. Don't get more classic than that. Here's another classic, Vincent van Gogh painting, and there's a remix version here with a photographic portrait, a self-portrait of obviously another person, right? This is Van Gogh. There are many examples of this where classic paintings have been taken and photographic portraits, not just of people, but of groups, of all sorts of situations have been made. If you search online, you can find lots of interesting examples. So you can see how we're working within rules and constraints here very much. But this is remix, and it is a new thing. The thing on the left is new. Here's another take on classic remix. So a painting by Monet, Water Lilies. He has a very famous series of paintings, I'm sure you know. And it's been kind of updated with a few elements here added. And this is Banksy, a very well-known street artist. So that's his take on Monet. It's interesting, isn't it? It's this kind of juxtaposition of the beautiful, classical, and something kind of disturbing. And this is what remix can do. It can be kind of disturbing. Here's another one. Apparently, I discovered Star Wars. Well, we all know Star Wars. Star Wars has had a huge influence on popular culture. And there's a whole series of these kinds of classic paintings redone with Star Wars characters, a whole range of characters, inserted into classic paintings. And again, you can find many examples online of various Star Wars characters in classic paintings. So another kind of sub-genre, if you like, of this. And finally, this is my favorite. Can you see what this is? Look at it for a minute. Again, it's a classical painting from the Renaissance. These are people. Yeah, they're wearing these kind of 16th century ruffs around their neck. This is a body, a corpse. But you can see the whole thing's being painted with vegetables. And this is another take on classic painting. So redoing classic paintings, but with vegetables. This is done by a Chinese artist called something like Xu Dokui. I don't know how to pronounce her name. If there's anybody Chinese here, I'm sure I'm murdering that. But this is her kind of speciality. She remixes famous classical paintings with vegetables. And you can find a few of those online. Interesting, you can see how these are new products, but they are very constrained with certain values being put across. Okay, here's another form of remix. We'll see it in a minute. Do you recognize this? Could you put up your hand if you recognize this image, this idea? Some of you do. Okay. So this is an example of a meme, M-E-M-E, which I think the root comes from Greek, now I think about it. Mimetic or something like that? Yeah, I remember reading about this. So a meme is an idea or an image or a video or a sound that is propagated through the internet and becomes viral, becomes popular. This is an example of the no teacher ever, said no teacher ever meme. This is one, and here are some more. Aren't those wonderful? So, with the person next to you, I'm going to give you 1 minute to come up with the idea for another said no teacher ever meme. It's really easy to do. Think of something you hate about your job and then put it into a phrase, and at the end you put said no teacher ever. Notice that this is the part that doesn't change, said no teacher ever. I'll just give you a minute, see if you can come up with one or two things that look so great.
I don't have said no teacher ever.
Okay, do we have any offers? Could you put up your hand and yell them out? Yeah.
I'm typing like 100 essays to be marked. I'm so happy about it, said no teacher ever.
Great. Did everybody hear that? No. Yes. Just people in the back. I'm just going to repeat it because they didn't hear you. I have 100 essays to mark and I'm so happy about it. Said no teacher ever.
I so love Mondays. Said no teacher ever.
You hear that one? I so love Mondays. Said no teacher ever. Thank you. Any more? In the back there?
I wish I could be on lunch duty every day. Said no teacher.
Said no teacher ever. Lovely. Thank you. Another one there?
Alcohol is bad, said no teacher ever.
How?
Alcohol is bad, said no teacher ever.
You might not tell that in the back. Alcohol is bad, said no teacher ever. Lovely. Thank you. Any more?
I don't want to buy any more books, said no teacher ever.
Nice. Yes. Did you all hear that one okay? Yeah? Great. Lovely. Thank you. This is really, as teachers, this is really quite easy. We could go on for hours and hours and hours, right? Okay. Great. I love this one. And it comes originally from a joke that was published online on social media, which was said no person ever. And then there was one which was something like, I really love your stripy vest, said no person ever. And that went viral, and then from there, and then these kind of sub-memes, if you like, based on teachers, appeared. But what's interesting about this as a meme, though, is that it follows very strict constraints, doesn't it? I mean, if you start looking at it, it's this kind of, this kind of look, kind of 50s hand-drawn sort of picture, if you like. It looks like the 50s, the way people are dressed. Pastel colors in the background, the same font. Of course, the structure of the language is always said no teacher ever, repeated. And it was originally, these ones come from these e-cards. Somebody came up with this as an e-card and then it got viral from then on. Yeah. But it follows very strict rules. So you could see how you could get your students this is not relevant to your students, right? This is relevant to teachers, but you can give them these kinds of rules and they can create their own meanings, drawing, following the conventions. This is actually quite rule-bound in a way, but very creative itself. So you just saw that a second ago. Anybody not seen this before? Could you hold up your hand? You've never seen this? Yeah, okay, so everybody has seen this, right? This is probably one of the most popular, most well-known image memes that has ever existed, just extraordinarily well-known. Does anybody know the story behind this? Could you put up your hand? One person? Okay, so Ron, bear with me, I'm going to tell the story. This poster comes from the Second World War in Britain. Okay, so you can see the meaning behind it, right? The war is going on, but let's keep calm. And it kind of reflects this supposed British, together in the face of adversity, stiff upper lip, you probably know that expression, yeah? Keeping calm, showing no emotion, it's all going to be okay. It seems to kind of reflect that feeling, if you like. So it was developed by the government to use in the Second World War, but it was never actually publicly displayed for some reason. Then in the year sort of 2000, more or less, a copy of this poster was found in somebody's attic in England, and it was displayed in a local bookshop. And people started to see it, and there was something about it that people liked in the year 2000. It's in a slightly ironic way. It reflects this sort of British thing that most people don't really believe in. From that, things like mugs and T-shirts and so on started to appear, and that started to popularize this particular image, this one image. Then something happened, and this appeared. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? That is a beautiful piece of remix, isn't it? And then, of course, the whole thing just went completely viral, and we got this sort of thing. Yes, aren't they great? I chose these because I particularly like them. This first one here is really interesting. You need to understand something about history to understand that. It's quite a complex cultural sort of, criticism, if you like, of the entire political system, as is this one. It's also a kind of political commentary, they both are. But you do need to understand, find a 10-year-old who can understand these, possibly not. This one as well is lovely, that's a kind of cultural, popular culture reference. This one is a little confusing, but I imagine this one as the kind of noise. So you imagine somebody saying, keep calm, and somebody strangling them from behind, so it's a bit late to keep calm. And then this one as well is interesting. It's kind of in the vein of the original thing. Because why a British accent? Why would you fake a British accent? Because of this whole thing of being calm and polite and together and so on, of course, which is completely fake, but it's the kind of false, if you like, this false image that's being perpetuated in a very ironic way. Nobody really believes you should do this.
Most Americans believe that if you have a British accent,
they do.
you're intelligent.
Oh, okay, so maybe Americans believe that, but none of the rest of us do. No offense, Ron. So the thing about this kind of remix is that it's actually quite complex in its own way. It looks very simple, but it's actually quite complex and can convey some fairly complex messages. Okay, so this kind of thing you can very easily bring into your language classroom. And here are a couple of websites that you could explore to do so. The first one is the Keep Calm Omatic website. And it allows you, it gives you a template. You can choose your icon at the top with all sorts of stuff. So you have to be the clown. Then you have space to type text, and you can type whatever you want here and choose the size. But you've only got space for, a few words, right? You can't do too much in there. You can choose your background color, and then you hit create, and ta-da! You've got a Keep Calm meme. Very easy to do in terms of technical stuff. You don't need any technical know-how at all to do this one, for example. Another nice website is the two meme generator websites. Yeah, these are different websites, and they allow you to take different memes. So very famous photographs, for example, the grumpy cat, or the success baby, there's lots of them. And then to put your own text over that. So to create your own meme with current stuff that's going on or with stuff from the past. And then this site, here at the bottom, knowyourmeme.com, is a kind of database or library of memes over the years, and it explains the background to a lot of memes. So it's quite interesting. You can get your students to choose a famous meme, and then you can get them to research it. Here it tells you where it first appeared, some of the history and so on. Students can research, and then they can show the memes and then share the information. So you could have a nice reading research task based around memes, which is an interesting thing to do. Okay, that is image memes. Okay, we've done that. There you go, another quote with the person next to you. You have a minute. First word, creativity, 2 sentences. If you think you've got that one, could you hold up your hand? Right, okay, pretty much everyone. Great. All right, again, I'll give you the answers at the end. We've looked at audio, we've looked at images, and I would like to look briefly at video remix. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Harry Potter, right? The Harry Potter books, yeah? Okay, if you're a Harry Potter fan, could you hold up your hand? It's okay, no need to be ashamed. Oh, okay, the majority in that case. That's okay. Now, if you hate Harry Potter, that's also fine. You can own that. Could you hold up your hand? You detest Harry Potter, some of us? Yeah, okay. Those of us who couldn't care less about Harry Potter, put our hands on everybody else. Great, good. Whether you love Harry Potter or hate Harry Potter, or you couldn't care less about Harry Potter, you're going to love this Harry Potter video I'm about to show you. The video is the trailer for the third Harry Potter film called Harry Potter and the
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Something Hallows, Deadly...
Deathly Hallows.
Fans know this. Yes, Harry Potter and the Deadly Hallows. I think it's the third one, or the second one. Anyway, this is the original trailer that was made by the movie studios. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you a literal version of the trailer. I won't explain what literal is because you're going to see in a second. Watch the literal video, and while you're watching, just think about how you might use something like this with your students, if you might use it, and then if so, how. Could we have the volume of it? Is anybody there?
Introductory helicopter nature shot. Bad guy at a safe distance. Second helicopter introductory nature shot. Bad guy at an uncomfortably close distance. Turn careful, heavy. He doesn't have a nose. Harry needs some sleep. He needs a nose. And he needs some sleep. And some new glasses. And he needs a manicure. Don't sleep yet, Harry. He's gonna kill you. Look out! Well, not too many passengers. Dramatic turn has that pulled him up. First time he touched the girl. And nobody could be better. Right, this movie is extremely important. Force field dissolves dramatically. Raise hand back. Train is screwed slowly. Look at this movie is the most important movie you will ever see. Back up in a library. Richard Man and the One Dragon's Pits. We just get all under that guy. Buddy, that's Ray. Buddy, run. He's got a mind to genius. Last guy on a bruise. We're front row exploding. Running close the shot. Grab the spell. Be careful with that thing. Too late. Okay, time out. We'll take that. Okay. Catch my breath. Grab it in face. Whatever. Okay, go. Dragon, take out people running, outhill people running, flex. Forward 1 November, walking trees that find you, wizards flying horse. There's Earl Scout Harry, they got him, help him run. July to burning, people running backwards, screaming, wave head upskirt, windy, kissing, snake, cast spellbind, will blow up the town. Wizard lightning battle. You shine
Very nice.
Isn't that great? So that's a literal video. Essentially an original video and then subtitles describe what is literally happening on screen. And the effect can be pretty good. I mean, obviously this is professionally produced and it's very clever. It's very, very nicely done. So when you get home this evening, you can get onto YouTube and you can start Googling, or YouTubing in the search field, movie trailers, literal version, and you will spend the rest of the night watching this kind of thing. There's some very, very good ones out there. I was teaching a group of B1 intermediate students in Cambridge a couple of years ago. In the course book, we had a reading about the Titanic, a real reading about the real Titanic and what happened. And I looked online and I found a literal version of the trailer for the movie. So, of course, pretty much all the students in the class had seen the movie back in the day, and we watched the literal version, which was great fun. So there's a number of ways you could use this. If I use this for students, what I don't do is a gap fill, because think about the kind of cognitive demands. If I asked you to watch that movie and I gave you a text with gap fill, it would be almost impossible for you to do, even though you are all proficient speakers of English. It's just too much going on, reading, listening, writing, it's just too much. So what I do is for students is I just let them watch it. I just said, we're going to watch a movie about Harry Potter, do a little intro, who's seen the movie, who likes Harry Potter. We watch the thing and I just let them watch it. And then I say, okay, in pairs, see if you can write down 10 words that you saw. Yes. Depending on the level, 5 words that you saw, 15 words that you saw. Right, compare with the pen next to you. Okay, let's watch it again. All right, how many more words can you get? I think that's fine as a language task. First thing is to actually expose your students to this kind of remix. Let them see it, let them understand how it works. And then, of course, the second part, in another class, probably, is to get them to actually create their own versions of remix. You can find videos or trailers online on YouTube very easily, and then you can use a number of